I want to talk to you today about the A.O. Williams system. Really, this A.O. Williams system was started back in 1967 when I went part-time with ITT Financial Services that sold buy term and invest the difference. And I was a football coach, head football coach and athletic director at Kendrick High School. And I think one of the beautiful things about the A.O. Williams system is, it started with a part-timer, a full-time football coach. And, I didn't have any business training. I didn't have any business degree from some fancy school. I just sort of figured this thing out. It was just a common sense way to build a company. I was going to use the same principles I learned in coaching and how to build a business. And as I look back here, 40 years, 45 years, if I built a company today, I would build it exactly the same way we did it because we built it on the right kind of principles. We sold the consumer the best product. Buy term and invest the difference. It mathematically beats cash value life insurance every time, 100% of the time. We sold the product. We owned our own life. We gave people the best part-time opportunity in the world. And then I found out 90% of the people didn't like their full-time jobs when I started hiring part-timers. So we also had we created a great full-time career opportunity. And so for those of you that are joining Primerica today, you've got an advantage over us old-timers because we had to figure this thing out on the go. And yet what you've done is you've missed all the growing pains, and you've got the great products and you've got the great system and you've got all the money in the world and you've got the great support, and all you've got to do is go learn this system and apply this system, and you've got a chance to do something really incredible, in Primerica today. I spent a lot of time going through my notes and my old material, and so today I'm going to go into great detail about how we built it at A.O. Williams. I always believe that you look at the records, you look at the facts, because everybody can talk a good game in this country, And so you want to know that there was some success there, some real success, not just a bunch of BS, and all that kind of stuff. And so I could give you hundreds and hundreds of examples, but let me just give you three people that use the A.O. Williams system to do some remarkable things. I think of Ronnie Barnes, one of my favorite stories. Here was a school teacher down in Warner Robins, Georgia, making $12,000 a year that moved to Chattanooga, Tennessee to start his A.O. Williams business, and he's excited, having some success, and Ronnie Barnes built an empire. He built an organization that was huge throughout the United States and Canada. Ronnie became wealthy, and he produced a lot of RVPs that became wealthy. Another one of my favorite stories is Frances Averett. Frances Averett was married to a farmer over in East Georgia, and her husband got a real serious illness, and in fact he could never work again for the rest of his life. And so here Frances was with 5 young children and a sick husband that she had to support. She tried to farm. She couldn't, make a farm go, so she started a greenhouse business, was making around $20,000 a year. That was not enough to support her family, so she finds A.O. Williams. Can you imagine starting in business now with the pressure of having to support 5 children and a sick husband and start in something like selling buy term and invest the difference where you're on commission? I just can't imagine that kind of pressure. But in spite of that, Frances Averett built an empire all over the United States. She became fabulously wealthy and produced tons of RVPs that became financially independent. Another one of my favorite stories is Rita Huckle from Pittsburgh. She was a former music director, school teacher in Pittsburgh in high school, making less than $20,000 a year, never sold anything, never recruited anybody. Starts her A.O. Williams business, is doing great, and then all of a sudden as a young person she has a very serious health problem, and she had to have a major operation, and it sidelined her for 1 year. For 1 year she could not go to work. But during that 1 year, that business that she had started at A.O. Williams, hadn't completed it yet, produced an income for her and her family of $35,000 a month, $400,000 a year. See, that's what A.O. Williams is all about. We wanted to create a system where we could give average, ordinary people on the outside, nothing average and ordinary about our people on the inside, I'll tell you that. We'd get after your fanny big time. But average, ordinary people on the outside, and give them a system where they could go build their own company and they could build a big income and a secure income. You know, February 10, 1977, when A.O. Williams was founded, our motto, we had a motto, and it was, everybody wants to be somebody. We believed everybody at some point in their life, you know, as a youngster, they dreamed about being an NFL quarterback or an astronaut or Miss America, you know. Everybody wants to be somebody. Now, what kind of people were those original A.O. Williams people? Let me give you a hint. See, I believe there were three things all those A.O. Williams people wanted. And I believe these three things are what everybody wants, by the way. Number one, to be their own boss. Number two, to control their own destiny, where nobody could put their thumb on you and squeeze you and control you. And number three, to believe passionately in what they do. February 10, 1977, A.O. Williams had a vision. We were just a peanut in Atlanta, Georgia, 85 people, attacking the largest industry in the world, 2,000 companies. The industry was controlled by 50 insurance commissioners, 250,000 insurance agents out there. And we were just this little old peanut, you know. But we had a great vision. It was two parts. Number one, we thought A.O. Williams was a great event. We were born to change an industry. We were born to beat Prudential. We were born to destroy cash value life insurance. Isn't that ridiculous? For a little old peanut, a bunch of coaches and teachers and policemen and firemen and housewives, you know, thinking we were going to form a company and we were going to change an industry, that this was a great event. That's what we talked about. That's what we thought. And the second part of that vision is we thought A.O. Williams would give you an opportunity, people like you and me, a chance to go build your own company and to build total financial independence, to have a chance to put you in a position financially where nobody could put their thumb on you, nobody could squeeze you, where you were your own boss. You built real security for your family. Now, folks, can you imagine an old football coach that looks like me and came from where I came from, to have a chance to be part of a great event, to have a chance to build financial freedom for my family? That's what A.O. Williams was all about. You know, Winston Churchill had a quote, that this was my favorite all-time quote. He said, "There comes a special moment in everyone's life, a moment for which that person was born. That special opportunity, when he seizes it, will fulfill his mission, a mission for which he is uniquely qualified. In that moment, he finds greatness. It is his finest hour." See, I believe, folks, to really make it big, you've got to believe in here that this is your moment, that this is your chance, that this is why you were put on this earth. See, the A.O. Williams system was all about building a team. This was not about sales. I hate sales. You know, this is about building a team. Let me give you a definition of a team. A team is every player working together to reach A.O. Williams' goals and vision. Every player has to buy into your system, your principles, and then multiplication takes over. There has to be a oneness. If you're going to build a system and you're going to have a great event and you're going to change an industry, then everybody's got to buy into this system. The whole A.O. Williams company bought into our system. There was a oneness. Everybody believed in the same kinds of things. You know, everybody's got to operate on one heartbeat. Everybody's got to be on the same page. There was only one way in A.O. Williams. There was the A.O. Williams way, or there was the highway. We didn't Mickey Mouse around with this dadgum thing. This was our life. And I used to go around the company for the first 2 or 3 years and say to everybody, this is probably, you know, the chance of us surviving, not making it big, but just surviving is about like this. But I got to tell you, inside, down in here, I believe this is a great event. I believe we're going to do it. I believe we're going to do something incredible. But there's got to be a oneness. Everybody's got to buy into this thing. You know, you can't spend your career as a leader in A.O. Williams, you know, always changing, looking for an easier way, a quicker way, a better way. You know, see, I believe some things never change. See, I believe regardless of technology, regardless of product, regardless of the economy, the fundamentals of building a business never change. See, let me give you a fact. A.O. Williams was not a sales company. See, I believe to build a big team, you must understand the power of a team. Sales had two big disadvantages I didn't like. Number one, you were unemployed every day. Every day you wake up, if you don't make a sale, you don't eat. I didn't like that. Number two, you had a very limited income opportunity. You know, if I was going to take a chance to leave coaching, something I loved, I felt comfortable doing, I was good at it, to go try to make it in business, then I wanted to have a chance to make a big income, an unlimited income. And when you're in sales, you know, there's just you or a handful of people that work with you and your income is limited. Building a team. All I thought about for 20 years when I was in A.O. Williams was building a team. Every day I woke up, all I thought about was building a team. Those hours during the day, all I focused on was how to build a team to accomplish two things. To build a secure income where if I could build this team where I would override dozens and then hundreds, then eventually thousands of people. And then the second part of that, I'd give a chance to have an unlimited income. I didn't ever want a ceiling put on me like they do in corporate America, you know. I wanted to have a chance to build an unlimited income, and building a team gave me that opportunity. Let me give you an example of a secure income and an unlimited income. Jenny Carter, one of the original RVPs in A.O. Williams, died, and she had two children, and she left them an income of $60,000 to $70,000 a month. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Wouldn't you like at the end, when they get ready to click your lights out, for you to leave a legacy for your family? You know, now I know there are more important things than money, but wouldn't it be nice to give your family some security? You know, well, Jenny Carter left her two children, you know, well off. Bob Safford, another one of the original A.O. Williams people, died not long ago, and he left his sons his business. And that business was producing incomes of millions of dollars. You know, isn't that something? I mean, this system really did work. Let me give you the qualities of the perfect part-timer. I'm going to talk to you later on in this discussion about A.O. Williams was a part-timers company, but let me give you the quality of the perfect part-time people we were looking for. A good person, an honest person, a loyal person, a good mom, a good dad. These people that we recruited were more excited about the crusade first. They learned best by doing. They played on a team. They knew how to compete. They were tough people. They had tons of want to. See, I didn't say the kind of people we wanted to recruit were good salespeople. I didn't say a good recruiter, a good motivational speaker, a CEO, an MBA. See, all this business stuff is easy. See, I can coach you how to sell. I can coach you how to recruit. I can coach you how to build a team. I can coach you how to be a motivational speaker. I can coach you all the business stuff. But you know what I can't do? I can't coach a pig to sing. I can't coach a dud and make him a stud. I can't coach honesty. I can't coach loyalty. I can't coach a person to have a positive outlook on life. You give me a good person that wants to be somebody, and you plug in this A.O. Williams system, and we're going to get after your fanny, I'll tell you that. And now another thing about building a business, you've got to identify your market. There are two categories of people we went after. They were what I call 5 pointers. We wanted people that were married, that had a job, that had kids, that owned a home, that were 27 to 55. Now, could you make an exception? Sure. I made exceptions. All of us did. But they were rare. But the heart of A.O. Williams were built for people that were 5-pointers and 4-pointers. The second category were best friends. We're going to talk about A.O. Williams being a warm market company, but we built A.O. Williams on best friends. Somebody that just moved to Atlanta and didn't know anybody, didn't have any friends, that was not our market. Let me give you 2 nevers of the A.O. Williams system. Number 1, never bring a new recruit to a meeting first. It's always across the kitchen table first. See, what you're trying to do is recruit that person and recruit his warm market. That keeps you off that old cold telephone knocking on a stranger's door. And so many things can go wrong if you bring a person to a meeting first. You know, they could get in a traffic jam and come into a meeting all frustrated, or they can get lost and never make it to a meeting actually. They go into an office, and there's so many things that can, impressions they can form that would be negative. You know, maybe they don't like the office. Maybe they don't like the person they're sitting next to. Maybe they have a question during your opportunity meeting, and yet people don't like to stand up in front of a bunch of strangers, you know, and ask a personal question so they don't get their question answered, and you wind up losing a recruit and his market. You want to always go to that kitchen table first. Never bring a new recruit to a meeting first. Number 2, a new recruit never explains the opportunity without the field trainer. The new recruit's sole responsibility is to set up an appointment. I'm going to go with you. I'm going to explain the opportunity. I'm going to explain the crusade. I'm going to explain, you know, our products. You know, across that kitchen table with a husband and wife, all you have to do is set up an appointment, and I'm going to recruit for you. I'm going to help build you a team. You know, nobody wants to buy anything. Everybody's tapped out there, but everybody's looking for an extra income opportunity. We have the best extra income opportunity in the world. You know, 90% of the people hate their boss, they hate their job, they hate the income they're making. So they're looking for an opportunity to improve their life. So what we believe at A.O. Williams is we go in there talking about the opportunity first, you know, and then the sale's going to happen, you know, when it's supposed to, pretty quick, but down the road. But we want to recruit that person, and we want to recruit that market so we never have to get out there in a cold market. You know, A.O. Williams is a warm market company. Stamp that in your dadgum brain. I love the A.O. Williams way. You never talk to strangers. You never go in a stranger's home. You never call a stranger on a cold telephone. You never knock on a stranger's door. You're always talking to friends. You always have a friend go with you to his best friend's home. You never have to set up an appointment. You can recruit the dadgum world with just that. You never have to set up an appointment. That's the biggest fear of people like me. I don't want to bother somebody. I don't want to. It's hard for me just to go up to a stranger and ask for an appointment. I can't do that. I'd rather dig ditches for a dadgum living, you know, than do that. You never have to set up an appointment. Somebody always does it for you. You never get lost. You always have a friend taking you, riding with you, and taking you to his best friend's home. You never go in the front door, always in the back door. Now that's sort of an exaggeration. We go in the front door a lot, but that's the concept that I'm trying to get over to all of our new recruits. You know, everything's easy, everything's comfortable, everything is warm. You never go into the living room or the dining room. That's the places these people go twice a year for Thanksgiving and Christmas. We want to go in the family room. We want to go into the den. We want to go into the kitchen. You never have to wear a tie. I hate wearing a dadgum tie. You never sell with any kind of pressure. You know, maybe it was my education background, but when I first went to my first prospect, I told him, I said, look, get your hands off your pocketbook. I'm not here to say anything. I just want to explain to you our opportunity. I want to explain to you our concept. And if I can't do 2 things for you, if I can't give you the same protection for 70 or 80% less money, or I can't take the same dollars you're now spending and give you 8 to 10 times more value, then I don't deserve your business. But I don't want to do that today. I wanted to take an educational approach. I wanted to pick up information, go back and study it and compare it to what I could do, then take it back to him the second time and let him look at it and make sure that this is what's good for his family. A.O. Williams, it does take a little bit more time to do it right. But when you build that right foundation, that's when you can build that big team, that gives you a secure income and a big income. The system must be simple. When I was coaching football, I thought I was a quarterback in high school, a quarterback in college, and I was an assistant coach for 2 years down in Thomasville, Georgia. When I got my first head coaching job, I had a playbook that was about, this thick. Man, I had everything figured out. I was an offensive whiz, And when I went to my first coaching job, I had this, complicated playbook, and all that kind of stuff. I was a head coach for 5 years in Georgia. In my last year, when we won the championship, my playbook was 7 pages thick. The system's got to be simple. It's got to be simple. I use this example about the Prudential rate book. When we kicked their butt in 1984, look at their rate book. It was 1 inch thick. They had dozens and dozens of different kind of products. This is A.O. Williams' rate book, 1 page. We had one product. We sold the consumer term insurance. We sold term insurance 100% of the dadgum time. We sold everybody the same dadgum product we own on our own dadgum life. Ain't that the kind of company you want to be part of? You might not like us. You might not come to work with us. You might not buy our dadgum products, but you never have to back in the door when you belong to A.O. Williams. We do what's right for the consumer every time. We sell you what we own in our own life every time. It's got to be simple. And the bigger you get, the more complicated your job gets. You've got to have the ability to keep it simple and to spend, I use this little formula, 90% of your time on the important things. And the important things in our business are always the people things. And that's what you do when you're starting out. You're dealing with the people. You're recruiting people. You're motivating people. You're building friends with your people. And then all of a sudden you get into compliance and you get into administration and your job becomes more meetings and planning and all this kind of crap, And before you know it, you're spending 10% of your time on the important stuff, people, and 90% of your time on administrative paperwork, all this kind of crap that doesn't make you any money. You've got to constantly strive to keep your business simple and to focus and spend your time on the important things. Now, I've got the A.O. Williams system down to 1 page. I'm always fanatical, like I said, to simplify it where everybody understands exactly what you're trying to do, and then that they can transfer this thing. We're out there recruiting unlimited numbers of dadgum people, and so you got to have a system that's simple, that people can quickly understand it, and then you can transfer it to all these unlimited numbers of people you're recruiting so they can grasp it quickly. So I've got the whole A.O. Williams system on 9 steps. Number 1, you recruit a part-timer that has a warm market. You recruit a part-timer that has a warm market. Stamp this in your dadgum brain. Folks, you're not trying to go in and recruit a person. You're trying to recruit this person and all of his friends, all of his golfing buddies, his warm market. Number 2, the new recruit's job is to set up an appointment with his warm market or his best friend. Now, the new recruit, one of the first things they ask you is what I say to set up an appointment. Well, he's your friend. That's easy. You just say what you say to your friend. He's your friend. He's not my friend. I don't know what you're going to say. The easiest thing in the world is to call your... What do you say when you ask him to go to a ball game? Just call him up and set up an appointment. Number 3, the new recruit goes with you so you don't get lost. Important if you got no sense of directions like me. Number 4, you go in the back door. Now that's simplistic, and a lot of times, most of the time you probably go in the front door. But just I want to make sure everybody grasps the idea that it's easy to set up an appointment, that they go with you so you don't get lost. We're going to go in the back door, We might go in the front door, but this guy's been in this house, this new recruit's been in his best friend's house, dozens and dozens of times. He knows where the bathroom is. He knows everything about that house, and we're going to go to the family room. Don't take me to the dadgum dining room or living room. I want to go to the family room. I want to go to the den. I want to go to the kitchen. Step number 5, the new recruit is going to act as a cheerleader. I'm the expert. I'm the field trainer. I'm going to be there talking about the opportunity, talking about the crusade, talking about the products. He's there just to cheer me on and talk about how great this stuff is. Number 6, your first impression is everything, and you don't want that prospective new recruit to see you as a salesperson. That's not your job. Nobody wants to buy anything. Everybody's looking for an opportunity. We want him to look at us as giving these people an opportunity. We're giving you the best part-time opportunity in the world. And it might be, if you don't like your job, that this could turn into a career for you. Number 7, you recruit that best friend and their market. You're not just recruiting that best friend, but you're recruiting his warm market. That keeps you out of a cold market. That keeps you off that cold telephone. Going to a mall and handing out your business cards and crap like that. A.O. Williams is a warm market company. Step number 8, then this person that you just recruit in his warm market, then he calls his best friend and sets up an appointment. That's it. That's the whole A.O. Williams system. And then step number 9, you just do it over and over and over and over again. Stamp this in your dadgum brain. A.O. Williams is a warm market company. A.O. Williams is a warm market company. We don't call strangers on a cold telephone. We don't knock on a stranger's door. Now what is a warm market? Now, a warm market, the real hot part of a warm market, and where we built A.O. Williams primarily, was with best friends, their best buddies, their golfing buddies, parents of their friends' activities like Little Arch played midget and pee-wee football. We'd always have a picnic, with the team and the parents, or an awards banquet with the team and the parents. And I'd sit out there and watch Little Arch football games, and I was up there cheering for the kids, with other parents, That's sort of the warm end of the market. The cooler end of a warm market are neighborhoods that you live in. But these people might just see you ride by, in a car, or you walking the dog or something like that. People you work with. There might be lots of people you work with, but you don't really know them. They just know that, you're in the same profession they're in. People you go to church with, same thing. You don't know a lot of those people personally, but they know that you're in that church, so you're probably, a good guy. So that's your warm market. But what you want to concentrate on is the hot part of that warm market. Does that make sense? But let me tell you, I was the kind of person you don't try to recruit. When I was part-time, I was in Columbus, Georgia, where I was coaching for 2.5 years. And then when I went full-time, I stayed in Columbus for a year. And then they transferred me to Atlanta, Georgia. I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. I didn't know anybody. I went out to Snellville, which was a suburb of Atlanta. I had one red light. I wanted to put my kids in a smaller school in a smaller town like I grew up in. So I went to Snellville, and I didn't know anybody. So I said, okay, I'm a warm market man. Now think. I don't know anybody. So warm market. I don't have any best friends. I don't have any golfing buddies up here. So what's my warm market? So I had a coaches directory of all the football coaches and band directors and in Georgia. And so I got my coaches directory out. In Columbus, Georgia, where I worked for 3.5 years, we had 7 high schools. So I took a 30-minute drive from Snellville, and I made a little circle, and I looked at my coaches directory and found out there were 21 high schools. And that got me excited. Number one, that was just a little old part of Atlanta, and they had 21 high schools, and I dealt for 3.5 years in a community where you only had 7 high schools, and I'd worked my warm market in those high schools over and over. And so I sat down and I wrote a letter to 21 head football coaches. Now, that's the cold end of a warm market, but I was a coach. I knew how to talk to coaches, and I'd had a reputation around Georgia as being successful. So I sat down and I wrote these 21 coaches a letter, And I said, you know, I'm Art Williams. I don't know if you know me, but I coached at Kendrick High School. And while I was coaching, you know, I wasn't making a lot of money, as I know you aren't, but I found the greatest part-time opportunity. And I saved over $42,000 in 2.5 years. And I went to work with this company, and I'm recruiting coaches like you know, to give you the best opportunity to make extra income. And I'd love to talk to you if maybe, again, I can talk coach talk, you know, maybe your off period or at lunch or after school, you know, or one night I'll come by and we'll visit. And so I never had one of those 21 coaches call me, not one. I didn't give them a lot of time, by the way, but after 2 or 3 days, I called my first coach, and I went out to see him. And he was so excited, he was about to mess in his pants, you know. And so he signed up and turned in his recruiting papers. And so we started working his warm market. We'd go to his best friend and we would hire him. And then he'd take us to his best friend, we'd hire him. And so I was off in this kind of direction. And folks, I built a base shop for 4 years in Atlanta, Georgia. And I worked my butt off. I was out there field training 3 and 4 and 5 nights every week. And folks, as hard as I worked, I only got to about 5 or 6 of those coaches, because every time I would get to the second coach, you know, he would take me to a friend and I'd recruit his warm market, and then he'd take me to his friend. I would recruit that guy in his warm market, and I'd go off in this kind of direction. I'd say, oh heavens, I still got these coaches out there. And then I'd go back to the third coach. And after 4 years, I'd only gone to 5 or 6 of those 21 coaches. The last thing in this recruiting process is you got to teach your new recruit how to build a team. See, the gold mine in our system is overrides. Everybody wants to override somebody else. They want to make money off other people in their team that make sales. That's the gold mine. And so what we teach them is how to build a team and how to grow with multiplication, not addition. You know, the traditional companies like Prudential, they all, you know, were full-time professional, and they would have a manager in their office, and he would go out and recruit 2 or 3 people. And if you did that times 10, that would give you a team of 30 people, because there was just this one manager that was recruited, and he recruited a limited number of people, and so he'd have an organization of 30. But if you do it the A.O. Williams way, and this is the point that I really got over to all our new recruits, you don't have to have 100 best friends out there. All you need to recruit is 3. Now, I hope you're going to do more than that, but that's all you got to do is 3. And most everybody can think of 3 people that would need this great part-time opportunity. But if you go recruit 3, and then you teach them how to recruit 3, because all your people that you recruit are going to want this gold mine too. They're going to want to build this team and make money off other people, you know, that are out building a team and making sales and whatnot. And so if you go recruit 3, that's all. You never recruit more than 3. And then you teach them how to recruit 3. And so you recruit 3 and do that times 10. That's 59,000 people. Ain't that something? Ain't that dadgum something? And you know what? A recruiting surge like that leads to a licensing surge. See, your goal is to license 100% of your new recruits. You want to electrify their butts so much that they're so excited about this business that they not only set up at appointments and you go with them and then you train them and they start going by themselves, you know, to recruit that warm market, and, you know, just a chain kind of thing that keeps on going. So you would like to think that you would get 100% of your people licensed. That ought to be your goal. But in reality, that's never going to happen. A.O. Williams licensed 50% of its people. See, real recruiting leads to licensing. A recruiting surge, when you have a recruiting surge, you know, it's got to lead to a licensing surge if you're doing it the right way, if you're recruiting the right kind of people and you're giving them the right kind of attention and you're field training them, getting them in the field within 2 or 3 days, and you're field training them at least 2 or 3 times, then folks, they're going to want it. And especially if you recruit some people for them and they see that they're going to make money off this team that they're building, they're going to want to get their license. So a recruiting surge should always lead to a licensing surge. Let me give you just three rules about building a team. Number one, you got to get the new recruit in the field fast. You know, they're going to be all excited and hot and bothered, you know, when you go in there and you're across that kitchen table with a husband and wife and you show them the greatest part-time opportunity in the world. They're going to be excited. And the longer it takes for you to get them in the field and show them that this thing really does work, their excitement is going to dwindle. And so it's critical that you get every new recruit in the field in 2 or 3 days. Now, some of you might say, well, aren't I recruiting too many people to do that? Well, dadgummit, you're recruiting too many people, right? You just don't want to throw a lot of crap up against the wall and some stick, some don't. Every person you recruit, you've got to have you or enough leaders in your organization where you can get them in the field in 2 or 3 days, and then also over the next couple, 3 weeks, get them in the field, you know, 2 or 3 times. Step number 2, you get 50% of your new recruits licensed. And number 3, you teach your new recruits how to build a team. That's the gold mine, is overrides. And now you know what? A.O. Williams is an RVP factory. Stamp this in your dadgum brain. A.O. Williams is an RVP factory. That's why we were built, for you to have a chance to go to RVP. Now there are 4 rules that I use in this RVP factory. Number 1, RVP is the starting line. That's the dadgum starting line. If you go identify a stud, folks, you want to fast track him to RVP. The RVP is the starting line. Number 2, when you get to be an RVP, that's when you have a chance to build your own company within a company. You use all of our products, all of our money, all of our support to build your own company. But you can't build your own company until you get to be an RVP. When you get to be an RVP, you're your own boss. You're your own boss. Everybody wants to be their own boss. When you get to be an RVP, you're your own boss. Now listen to this one. Number 4, an RVP's goal is to promote RVPs. That was why you were put on this earth in A.O. Williams, to become an RVP. That's the starting line. That's when you're your own boss. That's when you have a chance to build your own company. And your number 1 goal is to build RVPs. That's when you build the big income, and that's when you build the real secure income. February 10, 1977, A.O. Williams gave you 3 goals. These were your 3 goals we gave you. Number 1, you become an RVP. This is an RVP factory. That's the starting line. Number 2, you build 7 to 10 first-generation RVPs. Why did I pick that number? I don't know. I had 7, you know, when we started. So I just said 7 to 10. Number 3, you help your RVPs build 7 to 10 RVPs. That was our mission. A simple again, so everybody can understand it. When you get to be an RVP, you build 7 to 10 RVPs. You help your RVPs build 7 to 10. Now, how do you find these 7 to 10 studs? Let me tell you first how you don't do it. You don't do it by giving people some aptitude test, personality test, leadership test, like most of these corporations do. You don't do it by running ads in newspapers and on TV. You don't do it by going to job fairs. You don't do it by going to malls and handing out business cards to a bunch of dadgum strangers. The only way to find these studs, the only way to find these RVPs is to recruit large numbers. The way you hire quality is to hire quantity. It's the only way. There's no other way. But you've got to do the right things with everybody you hire. Everybody you hire, you've got to make them a friend. You've got to get them in the field within 2 to 3 days. You know, so you've got to have an organization to do that. So while you're recruiting these large numbers of people, you've got to build an organization of sales leaders, district leaders, divisional leaders, regional managers that can build these kind of personal relationships. They can get these people in the field within 2 or 3 days. Again, it's not recruiting a lot of people and throwing a bunch of crap up against the wall. Some stick, some don't, and you just work with the survivors. You want to give every single person you recruit a chance to make it. You don't know. Most of the people you recruit in A.O. Williams that look like a stud turn out to be a dud in terms of A.O. Williams. Not personally, but in terms of A.O. Williams. And most of the people that look like me a dud turn out to be a dadgum stud, right? And so the way that you find these 7 to 10 studs is you got to give everybody a chance. You got to treat everybody the same. Does that make sense? So you got to build this organization where you can funnel these large numbers of people through it. And then out of that pop the studs. You know, it's just like my football team. You know, you have 11 studs on a football team. And so in order to produce, a football player, a stud, a starting player, there's a ratio. Everybody has a ratio. So I had this organization in my community. It's like a funnel, where you have hundreds of kids. Every boy that grows up, he wants to be like I said, most of them want to be a college football player. They want to be an NFL quarterback or whatever, so they go out for the Pee Wee team. You just have hundreds of kids go out for the Pee Wee team, right? And then a couple years later, they graduate to the midget team. A lot of them drop out, 50%, they have other interests, And then they go to the 7th and 8th grade team, and a lot of them drop out. They're finding other things they want to do with their life, but there's still a certain percentage of those people that still want to be a major league football player, right? And then they graduate from the 7th and 8th grade team, and they go to the B team, and then it narrows down again. And then out of that B team, boy, those 11 starters, those studs emerge. Isn't that right? So let's say you had to have 50 players go into your program, in the Pee Wee program here, and as they work through this funnel, down to the varsity, you might take 50 people to find one starting player. So that means you got to put 550 people into your organization to get 11 football players. Same way with building RVPs. You've got to have an organization where you fit these large numbers of recruit in, but every single new recruit has to be treated right. You've got to make them a friend. You've got to build a personal relationship with them. You've got to get them in the field early. You've got to write them letters. You've got to continue to motivate them and contact them and love them. And you've got to have this organization in place. And everybody, your goal is to build 7 to 10 first-generation RVPs. Yeah, and folks, everybody has a ratio. Now, if your ratio, again, is 50 recruits to 1 RVP, that means to get 7, you've got to recruit 350 people and put in your organization to have those 7 RVPs shoot out. Now, if your ratio is 70 to get an RVP, you've got to put 490 people in your organization. But the AOE, everybody out there is looking for an opportunity, and we got the best opportunity in the world for you to make extra income. I was making $10,000 or $15,000 a year part-time. I was making $10,000 a year full-time coaching. I was saving all my part-time money. Over 2.5 years, I saved over $42,000. It changed my life. My daddy worked for 30 years full-time, busting his butt, and never saved that kind of money. There's not a part-time opportunity in the world, like this. And you're going to have a ratio. I don't care who you are. If you put enough people into your organization and you treat them all right, give them all the same kind of personal attention they deserve, everybody's going to have a ratio. Your ratio might be 20 to 1. For every 20 people you recruit, you're going to get 1 RVP. Therefore, you have to put 140 people through your organization. Does that make sense? At A.L. Williams, we grew by multiplication, not addition. So your goal is to become an RVP, produce 7 to 10 first-generation RVPs, and then you help your guys produce 7 to 10 first-generation RVPs. Now let's look at just what your organization will look like if you do the minimum. You produce 7 through 3 generations. If you produce 7 first-generation RVPs, and they do 7, that's going to be 49 seconds. And if they produce 7, that's going to be 343 thirds for a total organizations of 399. Isn't that something? All you did is produce 7. But if each of them produce 7, then all of a sudden, through 3 generations, you have an organization of 399 people. Now let's say you and all of your people just averaged a $10,000 base shop. And by the way, that's about what's going to happen. But you average a $10,000 base shop. 399 people producing $10,000 each. That's $3.9 million a month. Ain't that something? See, that gives you that secure income and that unlimited income. You're overriding 399 people out there, their organization, their big teams, and them doing just an average job in their base shop gives you $3.9 million to override a month. A year, that's $47.8 million. $47.8 million. Ain't that something? Now let's say you just do half of the minimum goal. You know, your goal is 7 to 10. But let's say you just do 3.5. So you have then you have 3.5 first, you have 24.5 second, you have 171.5 thirds. That's a total of 199 RVPs. You got a team of 199. Now that produces $2 million a month in premium, or $24 million a year. Ain't that something? Isn't that something how this thing just explodes when multiplication takes over? You know, you've heard me say many times that A.O. Williams was a company of giants. In 1988, when we were 11 years old, you know, there were 2,000 companies in the life insurance industry, the largest industry in the world. And I took the top 100 companies, and I wanted to see how our big teams would look plugged in there. So I plugged our big teams into the top 100, and you know what? 34 out of the top 100 companies, over 2,000 companies in the largest industry in the world, were A.O. Williams teams. Ain't that something? Ain't that dadgum something? And let me tell you something that just blows your butt out of the water. Bob Buson's team was number 5, did $26.7 million in 1988. And guess who was number 5? Prudential. Ain't that something? Bob Buson's team himself kicked Prudential's butt. A.O. Williams was a company of giants. But, stamp this in your brain. Let me give you a guaranteed formula for always building a small team or always building a small company. Build a company only for the giants. Build a company only for the big hitters. See, A.O. Williams was built for average, ordinary people. Now, when I say that, there ain't nothing average and ordinary about me and the A.O. Williams people. You cut us open, we'll whip your fanny like you can't believe. We have a desire and determination that'll just get after. I mean, I love taking on people from Harvard and Yale and all these brains and all these pretty people. I'll whip their butts like you can't believe. But if you measured us like corporate America measured us, or these business schools measure us, we're sort of average and ordinary. We come from an average, ordinary background and all this kind of crap. You know, we recruited coaches and teachers and housewives and businessmen and women and doctors and policemen but listen to this. 90% of A.O. Williams RVPs were $15,000 base shops, $10,000 base shop, $5,000 base shops. Now, folks, if you choose to build a team in A.O. Williams or Primerica, your organization is going to be the same. If you think all you're going to build are big hitters and giants, then folks, you ain't thinking right, right? 90% of your team, it's always been this way, and it's always going to be this way in the future, are going to be smaller producers. Our goal was a lot doing a little and a little doing a lot. Stamp that in your brain. An unwritten law in our business with our system is you want a lot doing a little and a little doing a lot. Now, folks, every one of these RVPs out there, they have a different goal and idea about what financial independence is to them. See, I knew a lot of RVPs and A.O. Williams that built huge organizations that made millions and millions of dollars that never became financially independent. I knew tons of RVPs and A.O. Williams that had a small team and they just had a good income, but they built total financial freedom. They were stone wealthy. Nobody could put their thumb on them and squeeze them. Always remember, in this business of building a team in A.O. Williams, You grow or you die. Another unwritten law. You grow or you die. And the best way to grow is to keep promotions in motion. See, at A.O. Williams, you're always building something. You're always growing. You're always promoting somebody. You're always recruiting. The number one killer in growing your business is to stop promotions. You can't ever stop promotions. There's always promotions in motion. You always got somebody going for sales leader, district leader, division leader, regional manager, RVP, SVP, NSD, SNSD. You got to always keep the pipeline full. Always keep the pipeline full. That guarantees you that you're going to keep growing. Keep that pipeline full of recruits, of appointments, of policy pickups, of promotions. Are guidelines the only criteria for promotions? No. Guidelines, let me tell you something. The first 18 months in A.O. Williams, we didn't have a dadgum guideline. That's the best way, basically, to run a business. You know, we managed the person. We promoted the person, right? That's the purest, best way. Now, I think you should have guidelines because we became such a big company and such a diverse company, you know, that you wanted these people to have sort of a goal to shoot for. But guidelines are only a goal. You always promote the person. You know, when I recruited a person in the business, I tried to get this kind of commitment. I said, listen, give me everything you got. That's all I want. You're the right kind of person. I'm proud to have you on our team. You give me everything you got. And I promise you I'm going to give you everything I got. And together we're going to get it on and we're going to do something. And then you got to have the ability, if you're going to make good promotions, to identify the stud. See, folks, this is one reason field training is so important. I can go with a new recruit to his best friends or his golfing buddies, you know, or friends of his kids' activities, parents, you know, this top end of the warm market I talk about. I can go into 2 or 3 homes field training a person, and I can tell you whether that guy's going to be a stud or not, just by the quality of his best friend. The way that family sort of interacts, the kind of house they live in and whatnot. And when you find this stud, when you find this exceptional person, when you just have a gut feeling, you got to call plays and you got to build your feeling on just gut feelings, instincts you develop, you know, when you're building a business out there. The more you recruit, the more you can identify the stud. And when you identify the stud, then you fast track him to RVP. See, the maximum time you keep any full-timer in your base shop is 2 years. The average time that it took for an A.O. Williams person to become an RVP was 16 months. 16 months. Let me tell you this other unwritten law in promotions. Always promote a little early. Always promote a little early. Let that guy, that's where you build these trusting relationships. If you always promote a little late, then that guy's going to always have bitterness and resentment towards you. You want every one of your people to know that that they can count on you, that you're going to always do what's in their best interest. Always promote a little early when they have momentum. It just kills me when people have momentum, you want to promote them when they're on a real roll. All the studs, they come in here, they get going, and they have this momentum. And then if you're not careful and if you're not promoting them, then they lose this momentum. And then so many people are promoting when they're on a downer, when they lose the momentum, and that's a disaster. That's a total disaster. You promote people when they've got momentum, not when they've lost momentum. Another key in building this big team that gives you a big income and a secure income is you make battlefield promotions. You make battlefield promotions. You know, in the Army, when old Patton, when somebody got killed, a lieutenant got killed out there, you promote somebody to lieutenant to fill his space, right? So the same thing in A.O. Williams. If you have a district leader quit, then promote a couple of guys to replace him, or at least one guy to replace him, right? Make battlefield promotion. This is your company. Do things not by a textbook. You know, do things by gut feelings, by instincts. See, let me tell you a good indicator of making promotion. Somebody that can make money and save money, handle their money well. Those kind of people are winners, and you're always coming out a winner when you promote them. Let's talk about replacement. This is a difficult subject for a lot of people, and it shouldn't be. to get your promotion to RVP, you must make a replacement. Now, that's a good thing. That's a good thing because it encourages, the RVP's number one job is to promote RVPs. If you promote somebody and they have to replace themselves, then that allows him to keep a strong base shop so he can continue to produce his 7 to 10 RVPs. Does that make sense? And see, then when you replace yourself, but then you go out and get your base shop going, you got your own company within a company, then when you produce an RVP, then they have to replace themselves. So you're exchanging the opportunity to make one replacement for the opportunity to build an unlimited number of RVPs out there and get a replacement. But a replacement doesn't mean you screw somebody. Let's talk about the design of replacement. The design of replacement in A.O. Williams is you take the person. You take the person. You don't take everything the person has. Rules I used in replacement is you take one leg. Now you hope a guy builds, a number of legs out there, but you take one leg. You don't ever take his best friend. Usually somebody that's really a stud, he'll bring in maybe his best buddy in life. Well, hopefully you'd take a replacement, something other than his best friend. You don't ever take over 50% of what that person has produced as a replacement. And the new RVP must take a team with him. You don't want to send him out naked. You don't take everything. You want to send him out with a dadgum team. And let's talk about the purpose of an opportunity meeting. The purpose of an opportunity meeting first, never, ever, no time, no way, no how, is ever the first meeting for all the reasons I talked about a while ago. The first meeting is always across the kitchen table because you've got to recruit that guy and you recruit his warm market and you don't want to take a chance on screwing that out by bringing them to a meeting and he doesn't get the personal attention and for some reason that's just weird, he doesn't really catch the vision, catch the opportunity. And so you got to start it across the kitchen table. And you always start an opportunity meeting by telling your personal story. Your personal story is your heart. So that's where you get the goodness of the company across. You start off with your personal story. And you want these new recruits that have already been recruited now across the kitchen table, they're coming in now to get the big vision, okay? You want to show them the emotion, the passion, the crusade, the rightness, the goodness, the success of A.O. Williams. And then you talk about the money, the opportunity they can make and all that. Another key is A.O. Williams is a part-timers company. A.O. Williams is a part-timers company. When Frank Pearson, the guy at ITT, recruited me to come full-time, he talked to me 3 times about that. Flew me out to Denver, Colorado one time. I was making more money than most of the full-timers were making in the ITT office, just working part-time, not selling during football season. And he called me out to Denver, Colorado and said, Art, you ought to come full-time. You've got a gift. And I said, you got to be kidding me. I said, I love what I'm doing. I've got my master's degree. All I've ever wanted to do was coach football. I love it. I've had a good career. And the thing I didn't like about coaching is I wasn't making any money. And so when I think about, an emergency coming up or sending my kids to college or retirement, I didn't know how I was going to make that work, but money was not important to me. And so I just forgot about it out there. That's what most people do. And so I just focused on what I loved, coaching. I loved it. And then all of a sudden I found buy term and invest the difference, and it changed my dadgum life. It gave me a chance to save $10,000 or $15,000 every dadgum month. 2.5 years, I'd saved $42,000. It was just, so I'm doing what I love, and I got the greatest extra income opportunity in the world. I'd never leave this. So the next time he came to me was in Columbus, Georgia, where I was coaching. And he said, Art, you got a real gift. You ought to come full time. And at that time I said, his name was Frank Pearson. I said, Frank, you're double dumb not to hire part-time people like me. Back in the 50s and 60s, everybody was full-time in ITT and in all the other companies out there. And the part-time concept had not yet been born. And so I said, when you hire full-time people, all you get are the dadgum lowlife. Who wants to sell life insurance? Every public opinion poll taken out there, on the bottom of the totem pole is funeral home directors, used car salesman, life insurance agent. When people find out you sell life insurance, they cross the street to avoid talking to you. This is such an easy business to me because I'm Coach Williams. People see me walk down the street and say, "Hi, Coach. How you doing, Coach? Great win last night, Coach. How are we going to be next year, Coach?" Well, when I went in to make a sale, I'd go in my coach's outfit, my Bermuda shorts, and my coach's shirt. It was just, I was talking to my friends. I never called a stranger. I never knocked on a stranger's door. I was talking to people that I had a relationship with. It was such an easy way. I took a no pressure approach to sales. I always had a 3-step sales process. The first interview, I just showed them, I wasn't recruiting back then, I just showed them the concept, you know, and then I picked up all their policies, all their investment information, and I'd go back and study it, do a comparison. The second time I'd go back, show them the comparison, how we could save them money or give them more value, and then I'd make the sale. Then I'd go back the third time and deliver the policy and reinforce the concept and the policy and the company, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so I told him on the second time, I said, "Y'all are crazy not to hire people like me. Everybody I know needs an extra income opportunity. This thing's changed my life, and you can recruit the world." So anyway, he said, "No, you know." And so the third time he called me up, he asked me to fly over to Charleston, South Carolina. I went to the Holiday Inn over there and spent the night with him. And he said, "Art, you know what? I want you to come full time, and I want you to see if this part-time concept works." And so he guaranteed me $25,000. I was making $10,700 as athletic director head coach at Kendrick High School. I was making $10,000 or $15,000 a year part-time. So he said, "Okay, I'll guarantee you for a year $25,000, and let's see if you can go out there and hire part-time people." So I went out there. My goal was to hire, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 part-time people a month. The ITT office that I was in, they hired 2 or 3 people a year. And so I think my first month I hired 10 or 20 people, recruited 10 or 20 people. And the part-time concept allows you to hire better quality people. Almost everybody out there needs extra income, and I got the best extra income opportunity in the world. It's a profession. You got to have a license. We deal in hundreds of thousands of dollars a thing. I went in a home and I made them 2 promises. I'm going to take the same money you're not spending and giving you 8 to 10 times more value, or give you the same protection and cut your costs 75%. And if I can't do that, I don't deserve your business. And I used to run them down that basketball court for 3 hours to make extra income and make $12. I went out and made my first sale and made $324. You got to be kidding me. You know, I for the first 2.5 years part-time, all I did was sell. But then I found out that, you know, I could recruit the world part-time. And then my biggest surprise of all was to find out that while I was recruiting all these part-timers, that 90% of the people out there hated their full-time job. They hated their boss. They hated the money they were making. They hated the way they were treated. And so that opened up another whole opportunity to me. See, when you start people on a part-time basis, there's no pressure. And you don't just ruin your reputation in a community by leaving a lot of dead bodies out there where people have destroyed their lives, you know, by going full time and then it not working out and their family's just devastated. By coming part-time first, this is extra income. You keep your full-time job, you keep the money you're making. This is just extra income, and you make big money, you know, part-time. There's no risk. The only way a part-timer can lose is if you don't set up an appointment. Now, that's your job. You know, we're a warm market company. I'm going to go with you as long as it takes to train you and to help build you a team, okay? But it's your job to set up an appointment. Now, I'm telling you right now up front, if you won't set up an appointment, if you ain't got the guts to call your best friend and set up an appointment and share this opportunity that you're so excited about it that changed my life, if you don't believe in this thing enough to go set up a dadgum appointment, then you ain't going to make anything. But you know what? Even then you come out a dadgum winner, because I've taught you a lot about insurance and investments. I've changed your own personal program. So the only way a part-timer loses is don't set up an appointment. At A.O. Williams, Everybody ought to leave this thing, whether you leave it and never make a sale, never get a license, or whether you leave it after you just made a few sales, and you get your license, or whether you make this thing a long-time, part-time career, or whether you go for it and you become an RVP and build an organization and become financially independent. Everybody, if 20, 30 years from now, if you ask them, they ought to say, A.L. Williams changed my life. That was one of the great things I ever did. Folks, I can't tell you the number of people. I'm talking about tons and tons and hundreds and probably thousands of people that have told me, said, Art, I never made it in A.L. Williams. But I've gone in the real estate business and I've built a big real estate company. I've been very successful. But you know what? I built my business on the principles that you built A.L. Williams on. A.L. Williams changed my life. I've had that told to me so much. That's what the kind of reputation you want to build in a community. Let me give you a warning. Build it the A.L. Williams way now. Be slow to let your part-timers come full-time. Now, they didn't have part-timers in the company I was with, so it took me 2.5 years. I saved over $42,000. But folks, part-timers are the heart and soul of your business. You want to have tons of part-timers out there, forever, If it doesn't work out, their family's not destroyed. And you'll have a part-timer, maybe like me, that makes a sale, 2 or 3 or 4 sales a month, or maybe they go a few months not make a sale, but then they make another. Well, if you've got hundreds of those out there, that's a lot. That's a lot of business. That's what you want. Always remember, though, to make a part-timer think twice about coming full-time. Be slow to come full-time. There's 3 rules. Number 1, they ought to have an emergency fund with at least 6 months to a year's income. So when they lose a recruit or something bad happens to them in the business, they get a charge back, that they don't panic. Now, I had 3 years' income set aside before I became full-time. That was probably the extreme, but they ought to have at least 6 months or a year. Number 2, you need to help them build a team where they've got a good little override, before they come full-time. You don't want somebody to come full-time naked that doesn't have a team out there. Help them build a little team. And then number 3, they need to be in this business part-time long enough to find out about this business, the good things and the tough things, in this business. You don't want them just to come in here and recruit, their best friends, and they going out there and they making, a lot of money the first 2 or 3 months, and they come full time, and then they have something happen to them that they didn't experience, the first few months. Take your time. And let me tell you why. You got to live with these full-timers every day. And you got to feel their pain every day. So folks, you better be prepared to help them win and advance, okay? So be slow to let your part-timers come full-time. Let me give you another unwritten law. A leader's job is to see momentum before they get it and before they lose it. A leader's job is to see momentum. You've got to see momentum out there. As a coach, you just fight and fight and fight to get that momentum. And boy, when you get that momentum, you got to get all you can get. The difference in a great RVP and a good RVP is the ability to get momentum and to keep momentum. See momentum. Let me tell you what momentum is. Momentum is everyone doing something. It's everybody excited, everybody busy. But you can lose it quickly. You can lose momentum quickly. Boy, in football, when you get that momentum and you get that ball inside the 20-yard line, I hate field goals. You better put that football in the end zone, right? When you get momentum, you get all you can get. And you can lose it quickly. And the way you lose it is you relax. You enjoy. You slow down. Everything's going good. Your income's good. Your people's income good. Recruiting's good. Everything's good. And then you say, wow, boy, we've been working hard. And you slow down a little bit. Pow, before you know it, you've lost your momentum. The way to keep momentum is you keep that pipeline full of new recruits, policy pickups, new promotions. And number 4, you've always got to have a sense of urgency. People used to kid me when I pulled into the parking lot in the home office. I traveled a couple of days every week. But when I pulled into the home office in the first, I had my little parking spot there. It had president, on it. And I'd pull in there, and then I'd start walking into the home office, and people would look out their windows, and they'd see me, and I'd be walking fast. And they say, oh crap, what's he got on his mind today, right? You got to talk fast. You got to walk fast. You got to call emergency meetings, if you feel like your momentum's slipping, and get everybody excited again. You got to have one-on-one meetings with your leaders, to challenge them. Winning, always remember, folks, winning in business is a 10-year game. It's a 20-year game. You're going to be riding a roller coaster, and you got to always fight to get that momentum and keep that momentum. Does that make sense? See, winners are master motivators. Winners are master motivators. I wrote my master's degree at Auburn University, and my title was How to Motivate the High School Athlete. And I took my research paper, I took that from a conversation I had with an English teacher friend at the break one day, in the teacher's lounge. She said, Art, I don't know how you get so much out of your football players. I can't get my kids to spend 20 minutes doing their English homework. And so I wrote my whole paper, on that conversation. And I started thinking about how a coach gets so much out of his players. See, you've got to take English. The kids got to take English. But you have to volunteer to play football. You don't get any class credit for playing football. And so the kids would come down during football season after school when the other boys were going out there, seeing their girlfriends, and messing around and all that kind of stuff, Those football players had to come down that old dressing room, put that old stinking uniform on, go out there, and I was chewing on their butt, and pushing them, and they were just sucking it up, and then after the season, when there's no names in the paper, when there's no fans in the stands, they come down after school, other kids are out there playing around doing things, and they come down there because they want to get better, they want to get stronger, they want to get faster, and they put their outfit on, and they go to that weight room, and they're lifting their weights, they're punishing their body, or they go outside and they're running that hills. How does a coach get that, and an English teacher can't get his people to spend 20 minutes doing their homework? And my conclusion was that leadership is everything. You come to show me a winning coach. They get involved in their players' lives. Man, after the season, they dress out with the kids. They go lift weights with the kids. They work out with the kids. They run with the kids. On Friday night, when a kid scores a winning touchdown, they jump up and down and celebrate with the kids. When you have the bitter defeat, they get in the locker room and they cry with the kids. But the typical English teacher, they sit behind their desk. They never raise their voice. They just teach English. There's no emotion. There's no excitement. And my conclusion was that you show me an English teacher that gets excited about English. Maybe she has to jump up on top of her desk and jump up and down and throw a piece of chalk and an eraser, when she gets excited, then all of a sudden she gets the kids excited about English. Leadership is everything. To build a big organization, to give you a big income and a secure income, you've got to become a master motivator. The key to building big teams is all about building personal relationships. Building big teams is all about building personal relationships. I talked a while ago about the only way to recruit quality is to recruit quantity. You've got to recruit large numbers of people to find those studs. Everybody's got a ratio. But you just don't recruit a lot of people and they don't get any kind of personal attention. That's a disaster. Building big teams is all about building personal relationships. This is a one-on-one business. This is a face-to-face business. Yes, it takes time to build it the A.O. Williams way, but this is the best way. So if you're going, it's a 10-year game and a 20-year game, and if you're going to go out there and try to make A.O. Williams your thing, or Primerica your thing, then don't you want to do it the best way? Yeah, it takes a little bit longer. Yeah, it takes a little bit more effort. Yeah, it hurts a little bit from time to time to build these personal relationships, to get involved in their family life, to get involved in their personal life. Those Harvard brains and those Yale brains that are teaching business schools out there that don't know their butt from a hole in the ground because they ain't ever done it. They'd say, don't do that. Make it all business and keep everything business. Don't get out there and get involved in their personal lives because you can't manage people in a tough way. You can't fire people. You can't cut their income. Well, that ain't the way A.O. Williams was built. We were built by pushing people up, getting the most out of people, and you do that by treating them good, loving people. You get involved in their personal lives, making people your dadgum friend. It takes time to teach your people about the goodness of the company, the rightness of the company, the uniqueness of our system. It takes time to build personal relationships. It takes time to make your people your friend. But there's no shortcuts in Primerica. There's no shortcuts in building it the Primerica way. You know, you got to get involved in your people's lives, their business lives, and their personal lives. Building teams is all about building personal relationships. Stamp this in your brain. Stamp this in your brain. The most powerful thing in business is being your own boss. See, at A.O. Williams, you work for yourself. You're your own boss. But listen to this, folks. This is another one of those beautiful things about A.O. Williams. There's so much goodness in A.O. Williams, it's unbelievable. Not only do you work for yourself, not only are you your own boss, but your number one job as an RVP is to promote other RVPs. You give another person an opportunity to be their own boss, to use all what we've got in A.O. Williams to build their own company. All of our money, all of our products, all of our computers, all of our systems, all of our support. You have an opportunity to go out there and give that to unlimited numbers of people. Ain't that something? So it's not just you building your business and everybody working for you. Everybody that comes to work on your team, you're trying to push them up. You're trying to motivate them to get to be an RVP. So they're their own boss. They're their own boss, and they work for themselves. Let me tell you another biggie. Y'all hang tough now with me. I know this has been a long session. But financial independence is everything. I can't tell you how. You take somebody like me, folks. My folks never had any money, but I had the greatest life in the world growing up. I wouldn't change anything for it, okay? And I know money's not everything. Nobody believes that more than me. But I'll tell you what. People like me, I tell you what, you give me a chance to be financially independent where nobody can put their thumb on me and squeeze me. I mean, if I really believe that, and folks, I really believe A.O. Williams and Primerica gives you a chance to do that. If I really believe that, you got the toughest dude in the world, I'll tell you that. You know, if you want to fight me, you better bring your dadgum lunch, because I'm going to fight you all day today and all day tomorrow and all day the next day. For you to take this opportunity away from me to be financially independent, boy, you better be one tough dude, I can tell you that, because we're going to fight all day and we're going to fight all night and we're going to fight all the next day. And you know, when I went full-time with ITT, one of the first meetings I went to, they had one of these big ITT superstars come into Atlanta. And he was talking about ITT and all that kind of stuff. So I was excited. I was starry-eyed. And I went to the meeting, a hotel downtown Atlanta. And he said, you know, one thing I think you ought to do is go get a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I went and got that book. I'm a slow reader. I don't read a lot. And I never read that whole book. I read about the first 40 or 60 pages, whatever it was. And he said Napoleon Hill spent his whole life studying successful people, and he found that common denominator. He found that common denominator that all these great people had. So I wanted to go find that, you know. And so I read this, and this guy said, every successful person I studied had a goal of being financially independent. But they had a plan. They just didn't think about being financially independent and fiddle-farted around, you know, and all this kind of stuff. They had a specific plan. And he outlined a plan. And from that day forward, folks, I applied that 6-step plan to my life, and there's not one thing I worked harder at than A.O. Williams. And everybody that I recruited that was a stud, that was a serious prospective RVP, is folks, sometime in their career, I would sit them down, and I would talk to them about being financially independent, and I would help them develop this plan. And I would call them constantly on the phone or talk to them when they came in the office and said, how you doing on your plan? How you doing on your plan of financial independence? And it was 6 steps. Number one, you got to have a specific goal. I was earning $10,700 as athletic director, and so I was earning another $10,000 or $15,000 a year, you know, part-time. So I said, if I had a guaranteed income of $30,000 for life, you know, and I didn't change my lifestyle, that would make me totally financially independent. See, everybody has a different goal of what financial independence is. For me, it was a $30,000 income. So he said, you got to have a specific time to achieve that goal. I was 28 years old when I went full time. And so I said, I'll give this thing 10 years. I was to give this thing 10 years. And he said, you got to write it down. I took a little cardboard out and cut it out and put it in my calendar book, and I wrote it out. I wrote out my 6-step plan to be financially independent. And then it said you got to develop a plan to achieve your goal. I'd saved $42,000. I said if I have $40,000, put it in my mutual fund, and if it gets 10% interest, in 10 years, that's going to be $100,000. So at 10% interest, it's going to take $300,000 to give me that $30,000 guaranteed for the rest of my life, and that money machine would go on forever. I'd never touch that principal. So I was $200,000 short. So I used my compound interest table. I went back and found out I had to save $1,000 a month, every month for 10 years, you know, and that's going to give me $200,000. So if I was willing not to go out and buy a new car and go out and spend that $40,000, if I was willing to invest that in my mutual fund and leave it there for 10 years and save $1,000 a month in my mutual fund for 10 years and it got 10% interest, I was going to have $300,000. And if I didn't change my lifestyle, that I could take that $30,000, 10% interest out, and I would never touch that principal. That money machine would go on through my life, through Angela's life, through my kids' life. And then step number 5, you got to decide what kind of price are you willing to pay. My price was to give up coaching, something I loved, something I was good at, to go full time. And step number 6, you got to think about reaching your goal every day. I thought about it every day, many times every day. Does this thing really work? I mean, all this sounds good, you know, and you look back at the facts and A.O. Williams, you know, back when we started this system, you know, all this was theory. We didn't know it was going to work out. We thought it was, but we didn't know it was. Well, it did. So the one advantage you've got right now, I mean, this is the perfect time to start your business with Primerica because, you know, you hadn't missed anything but the growing pains, you know. Let's go examine the facts and just see if it really worked. In February 1977, we started A.O. Williams. We had 7 RVPs. 12 years later, we had 10,000 RVPs. We started with 85 licensed people. That exploded to 225,000 licensed people in 12 years. The second, number 2 company was Prudential with 40,000 licensed people. We became number 1 in the largest industry in the world in 6 years, over 2,000 companies. In 8 years, we beat the number 1 Prudential and the number 2 New York Life companies combined. See, I didn't like those jokers even a little bit. When we got them down, you know, I love rubbing their nose in it. I'd put my old foot on the back of their neck and just squeeze it, just kick them in the ribs, you know. I didn't like those people just a little bit. In 12 years, we became the first $300 billion company. For 7 years, we were national champs from 1984 through 1990. And by the way, when we went into Canada, we were number 1 in Canada in 2 years. My final thought, A.O. Williams is a common sense company. You know, everything I've talked to you about today is just common sense. You know, you treat people good. We give them the greatest part-time opportunity in the world. 90% of the people out there hate their job. They hate their boss. They hate their income. And we did what was right for the consumer. We were the only company that sold 100% term 100% of the time, just like Primerica today, built on the same identical principles, the same identical system as A.O. Williams. Ain't that something? A.O. Williams was a common sense company. We built this. I mean, this was an old coach. I mean, there was something good morally about our company. We wanted to do what's right. And to me, you do what's right by selling the thing you own on your own life. The thing about those whole life jokers that just tore me up is 90% of those jokers own term on their own life, and they screwed the consumer by selling them the expensive whole life cash value kind of policies. I didn't want to be like that. I wanted A.O. Williams to be different. I wanted to treat people good. I wanted to sell the best product, the product we own on our own life every time. It was just common sense. It's what I grew up in. It's what my coach taught me. It's what my parents taught me about fairness and rightness. You know, we built A.O. Williams the right way. And number 1, the numbers never lie. Folks, buy term and invest the difference wins every time. Now, did everybody buy? No, a lot of people didn't buy my product. There are a lot of stupid people out there. But we were right 100% of the time. The numbers never lie. Buy term and invest the difference. Buy term and invest the difference is right every time. And number 2, A.O. Williams was built on small RVPs. 90% of our RVPs were $15,000, $10,000, $5,000 RVPs. But see, everybody's goal of financial independence is different. It doesn't matter what size organization you build. As long as you have your plan of financial independence and you work your plan, you become financially independent, you're a dadgum winner. A.O. Williams was not built for just the giants. We were built for everybody. Now, hopefully you can become a giant. If that's what you want to do, you can, okay? We had a bunch of giants. We were a company of giants, okay? But if you're going to build an A.O. Williams Primerica team, folks, 90% of your RVPs are going to be small RVPs because they choose to do it that way. Does that make sense? The key to building your team at A.O. Williams in Primerica is a lot doing a little and a little doing a lot.